Blessed is the name of the I am from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun unto the going down of the same, the I am name is to be praised. The I am is high above all nations, his glory above the heavens. For he is like who is like unto the I am our God, who dwells on high, humbleth himself to behold the things that are in heaven and in earth. He raises up the poor out of the dust and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that he might set him with princes and with the princes of his people. He even maketh the barren woman to keep house and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise ye the I am. Yes, all praises to the Most High. Deliver me from the hands of the evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of hearts of men, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish me and my seed, that we go not astray from henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, those of you on this platform and those shared platforms. Yes. And we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning with a hand clap of praise. And we thank God for those of you who have been with us thereafter. And we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed or followed, and those of you that have about to subscribe and follow, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes. You're walking with Mr. Clay. I'm Mr. Clay. And that was Psalms chapter 113. Yes, and we're in Jasher, not Joshua. It would be Osha if I said it. Jasher, the book of Jasher, chapter 89. We're going to begin with verse 1. Yes, we just came out of the part where God Moses spoke to the sun. He spoke, and God heard him, and God did it. He didn't say no name of no Isis or nothing like that. He spoke to it, and the sun stood still. Yes, and the moon did not move her place. Yes. Now, for 36 hours, or 36 moments, however they put it, this writer puts it, he did this, and he was able to defeat his enemy in the valley of Alan. Now in verse 89 and verse 1, then spoke Joshua this song on the day that the I am have given the Amorites into the hand of Joshua and the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of all Israel, thou hast done mighty things, O Tatan Zambi, Sanini Nanini, which means I am that I am. Thou hast performed great deeds, who is like unto thee? My lips shall sing unto thy name. My goodness and my fortress, my high tower, I will sing new song unto thee. With thanksgiving I will sing to thee, and thou art the strength of my salvation. No, he's not talking about no Isis. He's not talking about the coming of Isis or nothing like that. That's a dead testament, because it's non-existent. It's made up. Everything is there. The heathen been telling us that for the longest, that this book has been made up. The New Testament is contradictory of the Old in many ways. How come they can understand it, but yet you're calling your Christianity and your New Testament ism and your Jesus only ism for 10s, 20s, and 30s, and 40s, and 50s, and 60s, even until your death? This is God saying he's going to send a strong delusion. He sent it. But then they twisted it in what they say. If anyone brings to you any good news other than what we bring to you, call him anathema and all this other stuff. That don't make no sense. There's only one good news, and that's the fact that God shall redeem his people according to the book of Enoch. These were written aforetime. Yes, they were. Verse 4, and all the kings of the earth shall praise thee. The princes of the world shall sing to thee. The children of Israel shall rejoice in thy salvation, and they shall sing and praise thy power. To thee, O I am, did we confide. In other words, we confided in God. We didn't confide in the psychologists. We didn't confide in the presbytery. We didn't confide in our preachers and our pastors. We confided in who? The I am. We said in our heart, we said, thou art God. See, this is the first thing you got to acknowledge. and you're confiding in the Most High. They're telling you this. Thou art the power. Oh, I am that I am, he who has no name. For thou wast our shelter and strong tower against our enemies. And we cried and were not ashamed. In other words, we talked to you. We just loud, and we just praised, and we talked and we cried. And you didn't make us ashamed. That our prayer and our crying out was not in vain. This is the way God is. In thee we trusted and were delivered. Have you ever been delivered by God from your enemies? I can say I have. Were you ever delivered? Did you speak in the name of Isis and you got delivered, or you just delusional and thinking that you got delivered? Come on here. When we cried to thee, thou didst hear our voice, and thou didst deliver our souls from the sword, and thou didst show us thy favor, as the old English put it, thy grace. Thou didst give unto us thy salvation. Thou didst rejoice our hearts with thy strength. Thou didst go forth for our salvation, in other words, that we might be saved from our enemies. With thine arm thou didst redeem thy people. God says, without me you have no Savior. Thou didst answer us from the heavens. He said from the sky. That's what all that means. Of thy holiness. Thou didst save us from tens of thousands of people. This is what they're saying. This is where you are our salvation. Because you saved us from 10,000s of people. The sun and the moon stood still in the heaven, and thou didst stand in thy wrath against our oppressors, and didst command thy judgments over them. This is the same that's going to happen in the end. As we talk and cry out to the Most High, even if we are demised because of that, our prayer would not go unanswered. Our oppressors, even those that are in what the book of Enoch described as the wicked dead, the place of the wicked dead. They shall behold even their offspring dead. Even Pharaoh would cringe at what's going to happen in this last deliverance of the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, and those who would follow after the way of the Most High, even his laws, statutes, commandments, and ordinances. Yes, he says, and they were not moved at thy presence, and they desired thy battles. In other words, they wanted to fight you, God. It wasn't just Israel. They wanted to fight God. How many people you have heard that have a bitterness against God, the Most High? I mean, the Creator, the He who has no name, the I am that I am, the Sanini Nanini. How many people have you heard say this? Thou didst rise against him in thine anger, and didst bring down thy wrath upon him. Thou didst destroy them in thine anger, and cut them off in thine heart. Nations have been consumed with thy fiery kingdoms, and have declined because thy wrath. Thou didst wound kings in the day of thine anger. Thou didst put out thy fury upon them in thy wrathful anger, and took of them. And thou didst turn their iniquity upon them, and thou didst cut them off in their wickedness. They did spread a trap, and they fell therein in the net, and they hid their foot was caught. In other words, your enemies, even today, if their foot is caught, they hiding it. If God got them in the net, they hiding it. They're not going to tell you. Their hand was ready for all thine enemies, who said through their sword they possessed the land. Through their arm they dwelt in the city. Thou didst fill their faces with shame. Thou didst bring their horns down to the ground. Thou didst terrify them in thy wrath, and didst destroy them in thine anger. And the earth trembled and shook at the sound of thy storm over them. And thou didst not withhold their souls from death. That's separation from the body. And didst bring down their lives to the grave. Still. In other words, you separate from your body and you throw your carcass, your stinking carcass, into that hole that was digged for you. All of us going to go down into a hole or either get burnt up, one of the two, or something, either in the sea, something. But thou didst pursue them in thy storm. Thou didst consume them in thy whirlwind. Thou didst turn their rain into hail, and they fell in deep pits so they could not rise, and their carcass were like rubbish cast out in the middle of the streets. And they were consumed and destroyed in thy anger, and thou didst save thy people with thy might. Therefore our hearts rejoice in thee. Our souls exalt thy salvation. Our tongue shall relate thy might, and we will sing and praise thy wondrous works. For thou didst save us from our enemies, and thou didst deliver us from those who rose up against us, and thou didst destroy them from before us and depress them from beneath our feet. Thus shall all thine enemies perish, O I am, and the wicked shall be like the chaff driven by the wind, and thy beloved shall be like trees planted by the waters. In other words, O'Shea knew that the fact that these things have happened, God is our deliverer. He's our savior. Yes. So Joshua and all Israel with him returned to the camp in Gilgal after having smitten all the kings, so that not a remnant of them was left. In other words, he destroyed everything. Babies, women, children, whatever God said do, he did it. And didn't look back. Why would God do such a thing? Why would God tell him, do not even save these alive? And some he did, some he didn't. Well, since you're a judge of God, then I want you to go ahead and make your sentence of God and see how good you fare. But either way. Now, so Joshua and all Israel with him returned to the camp of Gilgal after having smitten all the kings, and so that not a remnant was left of them. And the 5 kings fled alone on foot from battle and hid themselves in a cave, and Joshua sought for them in the battlefield and did not find them. And it was afterwards told to Joshua, saying, these kings are found, and behold, they are hidden in a cave. Somebody going to find you out. I don't care how. Even those of you that have hidden yourself, call yourself from the great, what you call it, demise of the earth. You've gone in caves, and you've got rocket silos and everything else. God going to find you. Don't matter. You already know it yet. You're going to send people there. And how did you find me? How did you? No, someone just told me to come here. Boom, that's it. And Joshua called all the Israel and said to the officers of battle, place your feet upon the necks of these kings. And O'Shea said, so shall the I am do to all your enemies. Listen, Judah. Listen, Israel, Ephraim. So God shall do to all your enemies. Even though it's been thousands of years and the time has culminated to the point where God is going to deliver you from all these who hate you, who don't want to see you to rise, don't want to see your babies fat and playing along the streets, who want to fill their coffers with your gold and your silver and your labor. Oh, God's got a plan that their children might rest and be at peace, and that their children might enjoy the fruit of their ancestors' labor. But not, they're drinking the fires of hell and the smoke of, they're breathing in the smoke of the pit as each day goes, that they do not repent of their evil and turn away from their wicked practices and ways. And Joshua called to all Israel and said to the officers of the battle, place your feet upon the necks of these kings. And Joshua said, so shall the I am do to all your enemies. And Joshua commanded afterward that they should slay the kings and cast them into the cave and put great stones at the mouth of the cave. Does this scare you? I hope it does. To the point of even your own salvation, that you would obey God's commandments, statutes, ordinances, and commandments. And Joshua went afterwards with all the people that were with him on that day to Makkedah, and he smote it with the edge of the sword. And he utterly destroyed the souls of all belonging to the city. And he did to the king and people thereof, as he had done to Jericho. And he passed there to Libnah, and he fought against it, and the I am delivered into his hands. And Joshua smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls thereof he did it, and to the king thereof, and he had done to Jericho. And from there he passed unto Lachish, and fought against it, and Horam, king of Gaza. Horam was king of Gaza. You got Gaza? And went up to assist him, assist the men of Lachish. And Joshua smote him and his people until there was none left to him. And Joshua took Lachish and all the people thereof, and he did to it as he had done to Libnah. In other words, he was just, Canaan was receiving his just reward. See, this is people that who had never, it wasn't the Canaanites of this day and time that left and went and occupied the land, but who inherit their hellishness, who inherit their demise, who inherit the wrath of the Most High, their children. The same shall be to those who have, the children of those who have colonized and demised and maimed and lamed and done all hideous things to those of the children of Jacob and the innocent of this world. Yes, you're going to inherit it all. And Joshua passed from there from Eglon, and he took that also, and he smote it, and all the people thereof with the edge of the sword. And from there he passed to Hebron and fought against it and took it and utterly destroyed it. And he returned from there with all Israel to Dibri and fought against it and smote it with the edge of the sword. And he destroyed every soul in it. And he left none remaining in it to do. And he did it to it and the king thereof. And he had done as he had done to Jericho. Got rid of it all. God gave them a heart of such vehemency, you would call it wicked. If you one of these liberal Jesus persons that believe everybody should smack you upside the head every time you turn around because they feel like it. Yes. You want to sit up there. I mean, he says right here, destroyed every soul in it. Everything from the oldest to the just born. He smote it. And he left none remaining. He did to it in the king thereof, because God was angry. God knows more about your DNA and your flesh and what shall come of it than you can ever fathom. He knows about the plight of your children, but just because of what you put in them, and you can fathom the things that you're going to teach them. And then they come into any knowledge of whatever have occurred, and they turn back unto those beggarly and wickedly ways and say, this was my real ancestors. God knows these things. And he did to it and the king thereof, and he had done as he had done to Jericho. And Joshua smote all the kings of the Amorite from Kadesh Barnea to Azah, and he took their country at once, for the I Am had fought for Israel. And Joshua with all Israel came up to the camp to Gilgal. And when the time of Jabin king of Kazar heard all that Joshua had done to the king of the Amorites, Jabin sent to Jobat, the king of Midian, and to Laban, the king of Shimron, and Lephal, king of Ashkasaph, and all the kings of the Amorites, saying, come quickly. These are Canaanites. It's already done. Same thing with all the earth. God said the meek shall inherit the earth. If you conduct yourself like Moses, you say Moses wasn't meek. Joshua was a meek man also. But he didn't take no mess. Not that he was going to try to be big and bag against the weak. But I'm talking about against those who say they were strong, because he was strong in the faith and confidence of his own God. Even the creator and the I Am, he that had no name. And come quickly to us and help us, that we might smite the children of Israel before they come. Listen, Jacob, you're going to inherit the whole earth. Why are you fearing these people? Yes, you got to abide by different things and do until God comes. You can't go ahead of God like Ephraim had to find out. But the fact is, he says, come quickly and help us, that we might smite the children of Israel before they come upon us, and do unto us as they have done to other kings of the Amorites. And all these kings hearkened to the word of Jabin, king of Kazor, and they went forth with all their camp, 17. It was already done. Kings and their people were numerous as the sand on the seashore, together with horses and chariots, and innumerable. And they came and pitched together at the waters of Meram. And they were met together to fight against Israel. And I Am said to Joshua, fear not, for tomorrow about this time I will deliver them up all slain before you. Woo! Even up to the horse's bridle, as your book says. It's going to happen this way. It may not seem like it right now, but God is going to demise and put all your enemies down. Every armament, every shield, every bullet, every ounce of uranium they have inside of their nuclear bombs, God shall say one day, fear not them, for tomorrow about this time I will deliver them up slain before you. But you're going to have to bring yourself up out of your ignorance. Jacob, Israel, you're going to have to bring yourself out of your ignorance. Start living like a prince. I ain't talking about in the way, I'm talking about the way you carry yourself. And the way you talk about the word. You're going to have to be very versed in this Bible. Very versed. Understand it, know it, breathe it, live it, that it becomes a part of you. And when it becomes a part of you, for it says the law of the Lord is perfect. Didn't it say that verbatim? Converting the soul, making wise the simple, more to be desired. You have to desire the law, commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High. Jesus didn't tell you a doggone thing. You got thousands of years God have tried to teach and train his children, and he has taken them through different scenarios to teach you how to trust and to know and to understand him. And then you're going to just bring everything down to a beggarly man and some guys that have killed him that were unclean that says he was a sacrifice. And now here you are, still poor. Your women. What are your women doing? They saying you're no good, man of Jacob. Then you got those men who say the women ain't no good. You've been battled from each side by the enemy. You can't see it. And the I am said to Joshua, fear not. Now in verse 43, and Joshua with all the men of war came suddenly upon them and smote them, and they fell into their hands, for the I am had delivered them into the hands of the children of Israel. So the children of Israel pursued all these kings with their camp and smote them until there was none left of them. And Joshua did to them as the I am had spoken to him. And Joshua returned at that time to Kazor and smote it with the sword and destroyed every soul in it and burned it with fire from Kazor. And Joshua passed to Shimron and smote it and utterly destroyed it. And from there he passed to Aksaph, and he did to it as he has done to Shimron. And from there he passed to Adullam, and he smote all the people in it, and he did to Adullam as he had done to Aksaph and to Shimron. And he passed from them to all the cities of the kings which had smitten, and he smote all the people that were left of them, and he utterly destroyed them. They didn't have a feminine heart in them. Nah. Sometimes you just have you understand how some people might have a blank stare and do what they have to do? A lion doesn't show any emotion, but he's going to take down his prey regardless of who's watching, because that's in his nature to do so. Verse 49. And on their booty and cattle and Israel took for themselves a prey, but every human being they smote and suffered not a soul to live. In other words, the Canaanites were just wiped out, period. And so the I am commanded Moses and Joshua and all Israel. They fell not in anything at this point in time now, mind you. And so Joshua and all the children of Israel smote the whole land of Canaan, and the I am had commanded them, and smote all their kings, being 31 kings. These were the leaders. See, they say kings, but these was just the leaders. You can be a king of your own house. Just depends how you carry yourself and how you rule your house with wisdom. See, this is the auspices of the enemy. He wants to destroy your home. He wants to destroy everything you got. He wants to destroy your rulership. Everything. He wants to destroy it. Have your kids disrespect you, your wife flirting around with everything else, and then have you in bitterness flirting with every woman that will flirt with you. And it becomes a good menagerie. Then have her complaining he ain't doing this, just like the wife of Esau, until his father came, Abram, and said, the nail is not in a sure place. Remove the nail. In other words, your wife is not in a sure place, man, and your children are set at variance. And the children, when a woman complains of her husband, it's time for you to go. When you find out she's complaining about you to another man, or she's complaining under her breath at you, and you're doing the best you can, and you know it, time to go. God don't play with that. No, he don't. Don't play with it at all. And as the I Am had commanded them, and smote all their kings, being 30 king, and the children of Israel took their whole country, beside the kingdoms of Sihon and Og, which are on the other side of Jordan, which Moses had smitten many cities. And Moses gave them to the Reubenites and the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh. And Joshua smote all the kings that were on the side of Jordan and to the west, and gave them for inheritance to the 9 tribes of the half tribe of Israel. And for 5 years did Joshua carry on the war with these kings, and he gave their cities to the Israelites, and the land became tranquil from the battle throughout the cities of the Amorites and the Canaanites. In other words, they had peace. Hey, oh, glory to the Most High. They had peace. Yes, it was well with their souls. And Joshua, Most High, was just, I can believe that he just was pleased with the works of Joshua, that he had carried out what he told him to do, and the fact that he had confidence in him. How many of us can say the same thing? When someone has confidence in us, we're going to do our best for them. When somebody shows that they really trust us and they really believe everything we say, we're going to do our best not to let them down. This is what God did to Joshua. Yes, when your son, your daughter look at daddy. Sometimes your other daddies need to just sit by, and your sons and daughters, let them win. So this man might be honored by his own children. Sometimes you got to let them win. But the fact is that God was pleased with Joshua. And Israel was very pleased with Joshua and their God. And with that, we're going to say, if you trust in the I Am with all your heart, there's nothing that can stand before you. One can chase 1,000, and 10 going to put 10,000 to flight. And that ain't in no Esau's book. Why you say I'm vehement against this Esau's? Because I believed in him for years, and I believed in the doctrine for years, and find out that it was all false. No, I'm not deceived. I know what it says in many ways. I know of these books that they speak against, the same book which I'm speaking from to you. That it is true. Yes, there's been some contaminated parts. I understand that, and I try to point out most of them. All the books of the Bible are contaminated with Greek idioms and insertions and everything else. But the fact is that the main things is law, statutes, commandments, and ordinances. That's the bottom line. And with that, we're going to say, if you do those things, then peace.
Walk with me.